Pirate, fusing Senju Hashirama power to dominate. Episode 21. After all, even the Navy does not have such a big fanfare. So why did you Zefa form a pirate guerrilla group with great fanfare? There is also the high technology displayed by Tongdi, but it is very tempting. Yet, seductive is very tempting. At present, with the former Admiral Zefa and Vice Admiral Roar of the Navy headquarters in the front, for the time being, the Navy still has to worry about its own eating, especially after Luo Lei has shown strength and potential. In a word, weakness is the original sin. Got it. Everyone is a smart person. As far as Kapu nodded, Zefa understood in a second, smiled, and nodded. As for Lore, it didn't matter if he shrugged his shoulders. This time to the naval headquarters, Emperor Tong's high-tech weapons were exposed in advance, and it was also in his expectation. Anyway, who dares to stretch out his hand, then hit whom? If you want to wear the crown, you must bear its weight, so let the storm come more fiercely. Peach Rabbit, pass on the order, and the naval headquarters will be rebuilt from now on. At this time, Staff Officer Crane looked at the Navy Square, which had become completely unrecognizable, with some headache, and said a word to the Peach Rabbit who had not spoken next to him. Originally, one of Peach Rabbit's eyes had been watching Luo Lei, but as a result, he was beaten by the staff officer of the Crane and couldn't help but exclaim, "You!" Staff Sergeant Crane looked at Peach Rabbit helplessly, repeated, and said, "For the time being, you are responsible for the reconstruction of the Navy headquarters." Oh. Peach Rabbit looked certain and nodded hurriedly. That's right, she had some curiosity about Teacher Zefa's student, Lore. Especially after seeing Luo Lei block the full force of the Warring States Marshal's punch. He was full of curiosity and wanted to know how Luo Lei cultivated. Look at the Peach Rabbit like this. The Tea-Dolphin took a cigarette, smoked a few mouthfuls fiercely, and was extremely irritable in his heart, and finally, after taking a gloomy look at Luo Lei, he did not turn his head back. As a man who confessed to the Peach Rabbit that he had failed 100 times, the Tea-Dolphin always believed that licking a dog was everything after all. The appearance of Luo Lei made him feel the crisis. Although Peach Rabbit is older than Lore, what if Peach Rabbit likes puppies, or Lori doesn't want to work hard? He's really hard, forget it. Go smoke a few cigarettes first, calm down, and the next thing is simple. Since the Marshal Warring States side has been dealt with by Luo Lei, the top level of the Navy, led by Green Pheasant, Kapu, Staff Officer Crane, and others, took the initiative to ask Zefa, Luo Lei, Tongdi, Ian and Benz to wash the wind. To this, Zefa, Luo Lei, and others also agreed cleanly. A few days later, two statements by the Navy invisibly made the sea shake. The first announcement was the announcement that the Navy would form a pirate guerrilla group to fight the pirates, with Zefa and Lori under full responsibility. Airplanes. As soon as the news came out, countless pirates have some confusion. Nemas, aren't your Navy fighting pirates? Get a pirate guerrilla out, what is this for? Is there an egg to use? Gimmicky? Not to mention, Zefa has retired, not the black wrist Zefa of the original, plus the person is also old, and has been abolished. So weak, he's in charge of a hammer? There is also a Luo Lei. Which onion is he? A nobody, who also wants to fight pirates, really pirates of the sea, are vegetarians. Oh, the pirate guerrillas are a joke, right? Yet, when the second statement comes out, above the sea, countless pirates were silent, because the content of the second statement is that Luo Lei was promoted by the Navy to Vice Admiral of the headquarters. This time, countless pirates cannot remain calm. Just kidding. The Lieutenant General of the Navy headquarters, though not the Admiral of the Naval headquarters, is more so. But the number is still relatively rare, and almost every one of them is a well-known strong person on the sea, not a nameless person. How could this Luo Lei, in the end, be promoted to Lieutenant General of the Navy headquarters? Incredible. It's really incredible. Unfortunately, it did not make the pirates on the sea wait for a long time. The big news of the world, Morgan's, seems to have gotten the insider information. In the latest newspaper, the true identity of Luo Lei was clarified, and the reason for his promotion to Lieutenant General of the Naval headquarters was that Luo Lei was able to catch the full force of the Sengoku Marshal's punch. Several photos were also published. One of them is a picture of Luo Lei's birth of the Mushu Shu, and the other is a picture of a giant wooden man and a giant Buddha statue fighting each other. Look at these few unremarkable photos. In an instant, the countless sea thieves on the sea were silent, and their hearts were set off by terrifying waves, which could not be calmed down at all. What terrifying power does this Lore have? Can actually catch the full force of the Sengoku punch, you know, this is the Admiral Warring States, a naval boss standing at the top of the sea. With a full punch, it is as simple as drinking water. This pirate guerrilla is not simple. So, in such a situation, part of the New World Sea Thief couldn't help but show a serious look. Originally, after the Navy announced the system of the 7 Marshal Seas under the King, everyone thought that the Navy would maintain the balance of the sea, but now it seems that the Navy's heart of a pirate is still not dead. This Luo Lei had just turned out to be a pirate guerrilla, and he was sent to the pirate guerrilla group to fight against pirates, and the Navy was definitely plotting. Even many countries and civilians are full of curiosity about the so-called pirate guerrilla. Alright, fortunately, the Sengoku did not know. Otherwise, you will definitely be angry and vomit blood. You think Lao Tzu is standing on the 5th floor. But in fact Lao Tzu is only standing on the 1st floor. The so-called pirate guerrillas and the promotion of Luo Lei to lieutenant general were unexpected, and if he had a choice, he would never have made a bet with Luo. Episode 22, New World. The residence of one of the 4 emperors, the 100 Beasts Kaido, is an island with a giant horn shaped like a ghost, that is, the Island of Ghosts. Central area, Gollum. I saw that Kaido, who was extremely tall and burly, with black hair and shawls, a pair of horned dragon horns, and a long beard like a dragon's whiskers on his mouth, was bored drinking. Some time ago, the 100 Beasts Kaido single-handedly broke into the red-haired pirate group and fought with the red-haired Shanks. The end result was that after 3 days and 3 nights of fighting, red-haired Shanks, one of the 4 emperors, and the crew of the red-haired pirates watched him leave. Kaido boss. There's big news. In vain, just when 100 Beasts Kaido was drinking well, Drought Jack, one of the 3 plagues, walked up to Kaido with a look of disbelief on his face. What big news? Take a look at it, happy and happy. Looking at Drought Jack, 100 Beasts Kaidomzi took a big sip of wine and said a good word. Okay. Drought Jack did not hesitate and handed the newspaper in his hand to the Beast Kaido. Haha, pirate gorillas? The next moment, looking at the newspaper in his hand, 100 Beast Kaido couldn't help but laugh disdainfully. Yet, after laughing for a second, the 100 Beasts Kaido smile suddenly stopped, and a rare wisp of incredible color appeared in his eyes, muttering to himself, Zefa's student, Luo Lei, actually received a punch from Sengoku with full force, especially looking at the photos in the newspaper, that is, the giant wooden man and the giant Buddha statue. The 100 Beasts Kaido's look gradually became stunned. Alright, for the strength of the Sengoku marshal, one of the 4 emperors, 100 Beasts Kaido knew, after all, he had been dealing with the Navy for so many years. And for the Sengoku, even King's Landing New World's 100 Beasts Kaido must pay great attention. What now? A former admiral who had already retired and was not as strong as before, a student who had been taught actually received a punch from the full strength of the warring states. If there were no photos, 100 Beasts Kaido wouldn't have believed it. This is a monster, right? Boss Kaido, the Navy put Raleigh and Zefa in charge of the pirate guerrillas. Is it going to do something to the sea pirates? Drought Jack asked curiously. Do you think it's possible? Listen to this sentence. 100 Beasts Kaido casually threw the newspaper out and said indifferently, with all due respect, that Raleigh is a genius, but that's all. Gollum. After saying this, Beast Kaido began to gulp down the wine again, not paying any attention to the so-called pirate guerrillas. Yes, Drought Jack smiled dismissively and shrugged indifferently. Jokingly, as one of the 4 emperors, the 100 Beasts pirate regiment, they will not be afraid for a small vice admiral Luo Lei, unless the entire naval headquarters is on the move. Is this possible? This time he came to see Kaido with the newspaper, just to make Kaido happy. By the way, is this lore a ninja? Suddenly, the drinking beast Kaido seemed to think of something, and subconsciously asked a question. It seems to be. Drought Jack respectfully returned to a sentence. Let the black charcoal serpent come to the ghost island, and I will see him. 100 Beasts Kaido gave an interested order. Understand. Drought Jack nodded respectfully. The ninja is in the country of peace, suppressed by the black charcoal snake, and the boss Kaido obviously wants the black charcoal snake to investigate whether it is related to the ninjas of the country of Wano. The second half of the Great Passage. In the waters of Edward Newgate, one of the 4 emperors, the gigantic Moby Dick is sailing in the wind and waves. The newly promoted Lieutenant General of the Navy, is he a bit skilled? On the deck, Marco held a newspaper in his hand and said with some amazement, this vice admiral is not simple to be able to catch a punch from the Sengoku with full force head-on. It's not just not simple, that wooden man is simply a bit perverted. The 3rd team captain, Diamond Jaws, sighed in amazement. Yes, the leader of the Goban team, Foil Vista, said solemnly, with that new vice admiral roar, the pirate guerrillas look like they can't be underestimated? Listen to this sentence. People like Thatch, Burmank, and others all nodded in agreement. At present, the 4 emperors, the 7 marshal-seas under the king, and the 3 largest forces of the Navy have strangely maintained a balance. Once the pirate guerrillas began to act, causing the balance to be upset, and the sea was afraid that it would not make waves again. Gollum. Well, good sons, what are you worried about, Daddy? I haven't spoken yet. Look at the sons who are a little worried. In the center area of the deck, the Whitebeard, who had been closing his eyes and recuperating, suddenly opened his eyes and emitted his own unique laughter. Haha, we have Daddy, afraid of a hammer? That's right, what is the pirate gorilla? Can it be that Zefa and Luo Lei dare to mess with the white-bearded father? Come. Continue to drink, and you are not allowed to sleep today without being drunk. Listening to the voice of the white-bearded father, Marco, and the other captains of the white-bearded pirate regiment immediately returned to their senses and couldn't help but laugh a few times. Special. They really think too much. There is the world's strongest man, the white-bearded father. Even if it is the 4 emperors, the king under the 7 martial seas, the balance between the navy is broken. What does it matter? The tide of the times must surge as violently as possible. Episode 23. The tide of the times. To surge as intensely as possible. In this way, their white-bearded pirate regiment can highlight their unique status. After all, the current era is the era of the white-bearded father, and no one can shake his position. Gollum, watching his sons so confident in themselves. Whitebeard couldn't help but laugh again, but a wisp of different color appeared in his eyes. That retired Zefa had brought to the navy a genius, no longer a simple genius, but a seemingly ordinary demon. And him? My own sons. It seems to be too dependent on him. People will always be old. Even as the strongest man in the world, he will have an old day. Forget it, drink the bar. Thinking of these brain-aching things, Whitebeard was reluctant to rebuke his sons, so he took the bottle and drank a large mouthful of wine. Still in the second half of the Great Passage, the other 4 emperors, the waters of the red-haired Shanks, ha ha ha. On the deck, the red-haired Shanks looked at the newspaper in his hand and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Sengoku actually ate on a fledgling guy? That lore, there are really a few brushes. That's right, Zefa, the old immortal thing, actually brought his own students and made a comeback. It is said that the former Admiral Zefa was transplanted with a new right arm and recovered his strength well. Some of the pirates in the red-haired pirate group, obviously reading the newspaper, couldn't help but shout loudly. Warring states, it won't be releasing water, right? At this time, Riki Lu, who was eating chicken legs, couldn't help but make a questioning sound. No water was released. The red-haired Shanks seemed to think of something, and said in a surprising voice, judging from the intelligence we have gathered, Luo Lei really blocked the full force of the warring states. Stupid boss, the navy has one more genius, and its strength has become stronger again? One of the pirates in the red-haired pirate regiment couldn't help but shout, ha ha ha, I'm the 4th emperor. The red-haired Shanks couldn't help but laugh and waved. Let's just wait and see what kind of waves the pirate guerrillas can make. We still have to pay a little attention to the pirate guerrillas. Ben Beckman, who had never spoken much, let out a large puff of white smoke, looked at the endless sea, and showed a wise and deep light in his eyes. I always feel that this lore is not a fuel-saving lamp, be careful. At the same time, Dressrosa, in the royal palace. What are you kidding? Doflamingo, one of the 7 martial seas under the king, looked at the newspaper in his hand and said evilly, what does the navy really want to do? What was the purpose of this pirate guerrilla group? Incredible. There really is something incredible. At the beginning, in order to become the king of the 7 martial seas, Doflamingo also went to rob the heavenly gold in order to blackmail the world government. The world government was too frightened by him to be a Draco, and could not fight him. However, according to the world power order, it is not possible to stop the tribute of the Draco. The world government was so overwhelmed by this that it finally had to accept his conditions and let him join the 7 martial seas under the world government's charter. That is, after becoming the king of the 7 martial seas, the Don Quixote pirates became legal pirates and began to expand wildly. In just a few short years, the Don Quixote pirates spread throughout the world, and he became an intermediary in the underworld, codenamed Joker. What now? The navy made a pirate guerrilla squad, and it was clear that there was a big move. Dover, it will be all right. After all, we are the king of the 7 martial seas, and the navy will not let the pirate guerrillas come randomly. Looking at the angry Dover, Toripole wiped his nose and said confidently, I know. Doflamingo threw away the newspaper in his hand and said in a cold voice, you don't know Zefa's character. He doesn't care if we are the 7 martial seas. Toripole stopped talking for a moment. As for the former Admiral Zefa, he knew, and more importantly, Zefa's wife and children seemed to have been secretly killed by their Don Quixote pirates. Once known by Zefa, the pirate guerrillas will surely bite the Don Quixote pirate regiment. Furin, it's really getting more and more interesting. The sea is getting more and more fun. At this time, Doflamingo slowly stood up, laughed and ordered, give me any attention to the dynamics of the pirate guerrillas at any time, and I will see what Zefa and Lore really want to do. Understood. Toripole didn't even dare to breathe and nodded respectfully. At the same time, it's not just Doflamingo. Even the rest of the 7 martial seas, namely Coliker Mihawk, Bartholomew Bear, Poja Hancock, Moonlight Moria, Sherpin, Shaw Clockdale, including some of the giants of the underworld, had some doubts. Obviously do not know. What exactly is the navy going to do? More importantly, the potential and strength that Luo Lei showed was so evil that if he really stared at a sea thief to fight, no one could eat it. Affected by this, the sea suddenly became dark and the tide swelled. Episode 24. Holy Land, Mary Joyce. It is the seat of the headquarters of the world government. Located between the first and second halves of the Great Passage, the summit of the red clay continent. At present, the supreme leader and the pillar of the world government is 5 old men with different heights, fats, and skins, known as the 5 old stars. Zefa taught a good student? 5 old stars inside the office. One of the 5 old stars, who was holding a famous sword, glanced at the information in his hand and chuckled. It is simply inconceivable that the new vice admiral of the naval headquarters, Luo Lei, can actually block the full force of the warring states in the face. It's not just incredible. The other 5 old star looked a little dignified. According to the intelligence collected by CP0, it is very likely that Luo Lei is a ninja. Ninja? Listen to this sentence. The other 3 5-year-old stars frowned at once. The world government has ruled the sea for more than 800 years, and there is some information about ninjas, but there is no doubt that Luo is the one who performs the most prominently. As for some of the remaining ninjas, they all seem to be hunched over in the country of peace, far less powerful than Luo Lei. What do you think? The next moment, the 5 old star with the highest status among the 5 old stars groaned for a while, and then looked at the other 4 5 old stars. The warring states did the right thing. Promoting Luo Lei to vice admiral in the navy can also be regarded as binding a future monster-level combat power to the navy. However, the high technology that Emperor Tong has mastered seems to be more advanced than that of Vegapunk, so should we let Emperor Tong hand it over? I don't think it's necessary. Vegapunk and we are also using each other, each taking what we need. As long as the Tong Emperor is in the pirate guerrillas, we can boil the frog in warm water, and one day in the future, once the Tong Emperor has a change, we can take immediate measures. Agreed. No matter how strong Emperor Tong and Luo Lei were, they were still within the controllable range. The other 4 5 old stars said their thoughts one by one. The tone was very light and breezy, and they did not feel jealous and afraid because of the strength shown by Luo Lei and the high-tech weapons displayed by the Tong Emperor. Just kidding, they are 5 old stars. Standing at the highest peak of the sea exists. Over the years, they have seen many powerful beings, but no one has been able to overthrow the world government, and no one can shake the privileges of the Draco. Even if it's Locks, D. Gibber, and One Piece Roger, both broke into the sand. Therefore, whether it is Luo Lei or Tong D, at most, it will make the eyes of the 5 old stars brighten, that's all. They don't have the leisure to keep their eyes on Luo Lei and Tong D's body. So, in such a situation, the world government is nothing more than reacting. The pirates and the underworld are surging in the dark tide. The naval headquarters, as the initiator, also began to be rebuilt in an orderly manner. A month and a half later, on the highest level of the headquarters fortress, inside the office of the new admiral of the naval headquarters, roar, ding. Congratulations to the host, completed the daily task, 6 hours of cultivation, bonus, 0.09% experience, ding. Fusion of the 1000 hands column template, unlocked to 40%. Phew, listen to the prompts in your head. Luo Lei opened his eyes and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Not easy. It's really not easy anymore. After more than a month, he finally unlocked the fusion of the 1000 hands column template to 40%. Be aware, after being promoted to Vice Admiral of the Admiralty Headquarters, Zefa, Emperor Tong, Ian and Benz began to fight for the formation of the pirate guerrillas. For now, although the naval headquarters agreed to form a pirate guerrilla group, but the specific formation matters, but Zefa himself to do, the Navy will not manage, will not intervene, at most to give some material resources. To this, Zefa is certainly a joy to hear. Without the intervention of the naval headquarters, he could form a pirate guerrilla force that was not under the influence of the naval headquarters. So, the energetic Zefa took Ein, Emperor Tong, Benz, and began to run around for the formation of the pirate guerrillas. At present, the effect seems to be good, excluding some unqualified naval soldiers, and almost 100 elite soldiers of the naval headquarters have signed up. As for Laurel himself, but he did not care about the formation of the pirate guerrilla group, but began to retreat and cultivate. Kung Fu paid off, and under the terrifying talent and hard work, the fusion of the 1000 hands pillar template was finally unlocked to 40%. Airplanes. It was at this time, in Lore's spiritual world, a young man wearing a black tight combat suit, with a red stacked armor on the outside, and the folded armor on the left shoulder was tattooed with the symbol of the 1000 hands, and his breath suddenly changed, and his hands gently clapped. Dark arts. Rumble. A terrifying chakra swept out. Affected by this, the whole spiritual space seems to have been robbed of the light, and turned into a dark world like a dark satin descending, and the whole picture appears very dark and strange. 10 years later, Luo Lei finally reacted from this fusion feeling, and his spirit also returned to reality. Cool. After a little perception of the harvest, Luo Lei's face was happy, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. This time, he not only learned the art of dark action, but also did not need to seal in the future, just need to fold his hands together, he can call what is coming. In other words, strength has not only increased. In the future, the pressure to perform ninjutsu will be even higher. Episode 25. In other words, strength has not only increased. In the future, the pressure to perform ninjutsu will be even higher. 40%, maybe that's just the beginning. The next moment, Luo Lei took a deep breath and secretly gave himself a breath. There was no doubt that the ability and strength of the god of the ninja realm, the Thousand Hands Pillar, was beyond doubt. And now that he had only fused 40%, he was already so terrifying. If the fusion is complete, then it is still necessary? Anyway, according to the system, when the fusion reached 95%, he almost had the strength between the Thousand Hand Pillars at his peak. If only it could fuse 100%. His strength, compared to the Thousand Hands Pillar, is absolutely better than the blue out of the blue. After cultivating, it's time to do something else. After half a ring, Luo Lei stretched out, got up and took a sip of tea, then looked at a box on his desk. Inside the chest was a special demon fruit. According to the meaning of the top of the navy, it was the reward for promoting him to vice admiral in the navy, as if it were some animal lineage ancient species, wild boar fruit. If you don't eat it, you can also choose to sell it. To this, Luo Lei was speechless for a while, thinking that he was also young and handsome. Could he have anything to do with wild boar? Although it is an ancient breed of wild boar, but is it a pig too? System, how many lottery points can this demon fruit be redeemed? Luo Lei's eyes must have been fixed, and he inquired with some anticipation. Ding! The host can redeem 300,000 lottery points. Listen to the system's prompts. The corners of Lore's mouth were twitching uncontrollably. Nimas, good evil, this is also the animal ancient species of demon fruit, only to redeem 300,000 lottery points. The system is too stingy, right? Be aware. Super random draw system. In addition to the random draw that is given away every 6 months. If you want to draw a prize, you have to rely on the lottery point to redeem the random lottery opportunity. 10,000 lottery points can be redeemed for a junior lottery opportunity. 100,000 lottery points can be exchanged for an intermediate random draw opportunity, and 100,000 lottery points can be redeemed for a senior random draw opportunity. Now this animal ancient species, wild boar fruit, you can also redeem the opportunity for 3 intermediate random draws. So, Luo Lei felt that there were some pitfalls. Recycling it. Mosquitoes are also meat and small ones. Luo Lei still helplessly ordered a sentence. The normal way is not to work, or through the fight against pirates, convergence of wealth to more exchange lottery points. Ding! Animal Department ancient species, wild boar fruit recovery was successful, and the host harvested 300,000 lottery points. System, I'm going to take a look at the properties panel. Ding! The host properties panel is being built. Ding! Properties panel generated complete. Host, lore, age, 15 years old. Capabilities, Navy 6 type, proficient, see and smell color domineering, intermediate, armed color domineering, intermediate, overlord color domineering, intermediate, 1000 hand column template, unlock 40%, random draw, 0 times, lottery points, 300,000 points. Yes, roughly glanced around, Luo Lei's eyes fell on the overlord color domineering. He did not expect that after confronting the overlord color domineering spirit of the warring states marshal, his overlord color domineering spirit had actually reached the intermediate level. But would you like to redeem 3 intermediate random draws to play? The next moment, Luo Lei's eyes flashed a ray of essence, and he muttered a word. Originally, Lore was trying to take it slow. Accumulate 1 million raffle points to redeem for a premium random draw, which can be. Now there are some who can't help it. System, redeem 3 intermediate random draws. In the end, the hesitant Luo Lei still couldn't resist and simply gave a neat order. Ding! Host, redeemed for 3 intermediate random draws. Is it used? Well, smoke it first. Ding! The voice has not fallen. In that translucent space that only Lori could see, a large roulette wheel appeared. After a few seconds, the hands of the roulette wheel began to spin rapidly. Ding! Congratulations to the host, I have smoked 10 bottles of Super God water without side effects. As the pointer rested on the blank cell, the mechanical voice of the system also sounded in Lore's head. Is it actually Super God water? As soon as the prompt sounded, Luo Lei's look became a little stunned. For the so-called Super God water, he knew that the Super God water was the Kalen immortal of the Carlin Tower in Dragon Ball with all the gods of the gods. And unlike the Super Holy water, the Super Holy water is actually ordinary water, and the Super God water has unpredictable divine power like its name. Once you drink the Super God water, it can not only trigger its own potential, but also greatly improve its combat effectiveness. Yet, in general, Super God water is highly toxic. People who drink Super Divine water must first be pure in heart, otherwise they will be poisoned by Super Divine water. Now, Luo Lei has drawn 10 bottles of Super Divine water without any side effects, which means that it is definitely not highly toxic to drink, which is a bit perverted. At the very least, drinking it can improve some combat effectiveness. Episode 26. System, give me a 2-in-a-row draw. The first intermediate random lottery drew 10 bottles of Super Divine water without side effects, and Luo Lei was full of expectations for the next 2 draws. The voice has not fallen. The roulette wheel of the draw began to spin again. Ding. Congratulations to the host, drew the design drawings of the mech Storm Crimson. Ding. Congratulations to the host, 10 fairy beans were drawn. After a few seconds, 2 more mechanical voices rang out in Lore's head. Luo Lei, who listened to it, was stunned, and he did not think that the 3 intermediate random lotteries exchanged for the lottery were still okay. Super God Water, needless to say, now I have drawn the design drawings of the mech Storm Crimson and 10 fairy beans. Among them, the mech Storm Crimson is the Pacific Rim Hunter Mech Warrior, pure titanium core, no impurities, each muscle has 50 diesel-powered engines, weighs 1722 tons, 76 meters high, good at fighting and hand-to-hand combat. It has an excellent shape, a large one-eye shape, a biometric head and a very flexible neck. The right arm is equipped with 2 fists that can be effective in hand-to-hand combat, and the left arm has a biometric function that locks onto the monster's bones for precision strikes. The most unique thing is that it has 3 arms. From a distance, it looks like a giant red spider and is very flexible. And the fairy bean, needless to say, is a magical food in the Dragon Ball, cultivated by the Carlin Immortals, Cat Immortals, who live in Corinta, and as long as they eat 1 grain, they can quickly recover from injuries. How nice would it be if I directly drew the mech Storm Red? Soon, after taking stock of what he had drawn, Luo Lei couldn't help but sigh. Although, according to the design drawings, mech Storm Crimson, this thing, with the ability of the Tang Emperor, can definitely be manufactured, and some high-tech weapons can be installed, making the mech Storm Crimson stronger, but it's too resource-intensive. Yet, this stuff once made, the combat power displayed by mech Storm Crimson in the Pacific Rim is definitely comparable to one of the 3 ancient weapons that the legend of a cannon blast of an island. Forget it. After thinking about it for a while, Luo Lei stretched his loins and muttered to himself, take the time to let Emperor Tong take a look. It really can't work. Just sell some arms, raise a little money, and make the mech Storm Crimson red. System, extract the super divine water. Luo Lei said softly. The voice has not fallen. A flash of white light flashed by. 10 bottles of super divine water appeared on the table in front of him. Gollum. Gollum. Looking at the bottle of super divine water that appeared, Luo Lei did not hesitate any time, picked up a bottle, and drank it in 1 gulp. Airplanes, without any warning. In the next instant, Luo Lei felt a warm current in his body. Countless cells, as if stimulated by something, began to become active, so much so that even chakra began to surge. 1 second. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. As time passed, finally, after half an hour, the warm current of chaos in Lore's body gradually disappeared, and even chakra had some changes. Cool. Sensing that his body was obviously becoming stronger than before, Luo Lei couldn't help but make a pleasant sound. No way, this super divine water without side effects, the huge promotion effect on the body, is really too unbelievable, and it is indeed worthy of the super divine water with unpredictable divine power. And it is at this time that the system's prompt sound once again sounds. Ding. Congratulations to the host, due to the special effect of the super god water on the body, the bonus, 5% experience. Ding. Fusion of the 1000 Hands column template, unlocked to 45%. Listen to the prompts in your head. Luo Lei's eyes couldn't help but emerge with a flash of surprise, especially, it was really a double eagle with 1 stone. This super divine water is a good thing. All of a sudden, the template between the 1000 Hands column was unlocked by 5%. It was horrible. Alas, if only it could be reused. Thinking of this, Luo Lei looked at the remaining 9 bottles of super divine water, sighed, and couldn't help but reveal a wisp of regret. According to the information coming from the system, this super god water without side effects, drinking for the first time, has a huge effect, but drink twice, the 3rd time, just like drinking mineral water, basically has little effect. This is a good thing, put it away first. Since it is useless, Lorelei wasn't going to continue drinking either. After adapting to some changes in the body, Luo Lei looked at the super divine water on the table and couldn't help but smile triumphantly. There were still 9 bottles of super divine water without side effects, which was enough for Teacher Zefa, Emperor Tong, AI Een, and Benz to achieve a great increase in combat strength. Predictably, the comprehensive strength of the pirate guerrillas, definitely higher than the pirate guerrilla in the original book. Episode 27. At the same time, the highest level of the naval headquarters fortress, the marshal's office. How can there be so many elite soldiers of the Navy headquarters applying to join the pirate guerrillas? Sengoku looked at the document in his hand and couldn't help but let out a questioning voice. Don't they know that the pirate guerrillas do not enjoy the treatment and benefits of the official establishment of the Navy? Incredible. It's really incredible. Although the Sengoku agreed to Zefa forming a pirate guerrilla group, but with the exception of Raleigh and Zefa, it is not recognized that the members of the pirate guerrilla corps are officially organized. As the name suggests, the One Piece guerrilla group is a non-organization of the Navy. He wanted to use this to curb the pirate guerrillas. Facts. But he slapped the Sengoku fiercely. After the pirate guerrillas issued an announcement of recruitment, more than 6,000 naval headquarters soldiers have signed up, and after screening, nearly 200 elite naval headquarters soldiers have joined the pirate guerrillas. If it is an ordinary naval soldier, the Sengoku will not be distressed. But this is close to more than 200 soldiers of the Navy headquarters, but some elite forces of the Navy headquarters? Among them were several major generals and brigadier generals. It hurt a little bit of an egg, and he felt like the corner of the Navy had been dug up. Listening to these words, the three admirals in the office, the green pheasant, the yellow ape, the red dog, and the kapu who was eating the fairy shell, did not speak. What else can I say? They underestimated Zefa's influence in the Navy as the former chief instructor of the Navy, and thought that they had already gone to the tea and cold, but as a result, this time they returned strongly. Some students still responded positively to the pirate guerrillas. Alas, after a few seconds, Staff Sergeant Crane, who had not spoken for a long time, sighed and a hint of helplessness flashed in his deep eyes, before slowly explaining, regarding the problem of joining the pirate guerrilla group without formal formation, I have already informed the Navy, but there are still some elite members of the Navy who resolutely sign up to join the pirate guerrillas. On the one hand, because of Zefa's influence in the Navy, and on the other hand, because of the combat effectiveness shown by Rowley, many naval soldiers firmly believe that joining the pirate guerrillas is a promising future. At this point, Staff Officer Crane showed a look of disbelief. What a fool. The yellow ape skimmed his lips somewhat obscenely, and said dismissively, there is no establishment, and I have joined the pirate guerrilla group. These naval soldiers, I am afraid that there is something wrong with their brains. The red dog's look was somewhat gloomy. I opened my mouth and tried to say something, but in the end I didn't say anything. Teacher Zefa, there are still a few brushes. The pheasant seemed to have expected it, and with his hands pestled on the table, a smile appeared, and the formation of the pirate guerrilla group was much more successful than he had imagined. Carp, what do you think? Sengoku glanced at the three admirals, and then at Kapu, who was eating a snack. Faced with the questioning of the warring states, Capmezia took a few bites of snacks, laughed loudly, and said disapprovingly, the pirate guerrillas are good, and I am very optimistic about the pirate guerrillas. You. Sengoku looked a little livid, glared at Kapu fiercely, and after taking a deep breath, he still looked at Staff Officer Crane. Let Peach Rabbit join the pirate guerrillas too. Facing the eyes of the warring states, Staff Sergeant Crane's eyes flashed a glimmer of wisdom, and he said, the pirate guerrillas are now in the beginning of the climate, and since they cannot be contained, then send someone to join. Let the Peach Rabbit join? The words did not fall, such as the yellow ape, the red dog, the kapu, the green pheasant. All of them were obviously stunned, and then as if they thought of something, they all inhaled a cold breath. Staff Officer Crane is worthy of being a staff officer of the Crane, and letting Peach Rabbit join the pirate guerrilla group can be described as killing three birds with one stone. Yes, bang. The next moment, Sengoku excitedly patted the table and said, Xiaohe, this matter will be entrusted to you. Staff Sergeant Crane nodded dryly. Nothing good to say. Planting a nail in the pirate guerrillas at the Navy headquarters was the best she could come up with. Moreover, Zefa and Luo Lei did not suffer losses. The strength of Peach Rabbit was not weak, or a substitute general of the Navy. She joined the pirate guerrillas, and the comprehensive strength of the pirate guerrillas was enhanced. As for why Peach Rabbit? Of course, because Peach Rabbit is not only Zefa's apprentice, but also a lieutenant general and substitute general of the Navy headquarters, but also a woman. Joining the pirate guerrilla group will have a natural advantage. Half an hour later, inside Staff Officer Tsuru's office. What? With an incredible sound, only to see a wisp of doubt appear on the cheeks of the Peach Rabbit. She did not expect that the staff officer of the Crane actually asked her to join the pirate guerrilla. Peach Rabbit, this is the decision of the Sengoku Marshal. Staff Sergeant Crane looked at Peach Rabbit with doting eyes and said in a deep voice, the establishment of the pirate guerrilla squad is much smoother than expected, so we hope that you will join the pirate guerrilla force. Staff Officer Crane. Peach Rabbit skimmed his lips slightly helplessly and hesitated. Teacher Zefa and Luo Lei are not fuel-saving lamps. Don't worry, Staff Sergeant Tsuru comforted, you just joined normally. Join normally? Peach Rabbit's look was a little stiff, and she was not a fool, of course. She knew that she had joined the pirate guerrilla group to play the role of monitoring the pirate guerrilla. Don't you want to know how many secrets Lori is still hiding? See Peach Rabbit unmoved. Staff Sergeant Tsuru smiled and took the initiative to change the subject, saying, this Luo Lei, who seems unremarkable, is actually a magical ninja. I have checked the historical data, and it seems that 800 years ago, ninjas were one of the mainstream of the sea, but after the establishment of the world government, somehow, ninjas gradually declined. That's it. Sure enough, listen to these two sentences. Peach Rabbit's eyes lit up slightly. Originally, she was very curious about lore. Now, listening to Tsuru's staff officer, curiosity rose again. You joined the pirate guerrillas, you can dig out Luo Lei's secret at close range. Seeing that the Peach Rabbit was moved, the Crane staff officer quickly added, "Okay." Peach Rabbit proudly straightened his chest and said firmly, "Rest assured, Staff Officer Crane, I will not let you down. I believe in you." A curvature appeared at the corner of Staff Officer Crane's mouth, and he nodded with great satisfaction. Episode 28. The formation of the pirate guerrilla group is much easier and more explosive than expected, especially after the announcement of the Vice Admiral and Substitute General Peach Rabbit of the Navy headquarters to join the pirate guerrilla group. It made the entire Navy headquarters have some shocks. No one thought of that. The promising Peach Rabbit would actually choose to join the pirate guerrilla group, which is too special to be believed. Affected by this, it also strengthened the determination of many elite naval soldiers to join the pirate guerrillas. Only a very small number of middle and high-ranking members of the Navy know what the Marshal of the Warring States is doing with this move, and now it depends on when the pirate guerrillas will go to sea and whether they can make a difference. Naval Headquarters, the highest floor, within a conference room. After more than 2 months, Zefa, Tongdi, Ein, Binz, and Lore gathered again, of course, in addition to the addition of a newly added Peach Rabbit. At present, our pirate guerrilla group has recruited 230 elite soldiers of the Navy, and more than 1,000 registered naval soldiers, waiting for review. Ian excitedly reported on the details of the recruitment. The warships of the pirate guerrillas, which I have already rebuilt, can not only fly, but also dive, and will definitely not weaken the prestige of our pirate guerrillas. Tong Di Meizi ate a few bites of lollipops and added, "At present, warships can hold up to 1,000 navies to fight at the same time, and if I am given some more time, I can also transform into more advanced warships." On the issue of intelligence networks, we started late. Binz's face was a little solemn, and he said, "A few weeks ago, I already asked the Marshal of the Warring States, and a few days ago, I received approval that I could temporarily borrow the Navy's intelligence network." Listen to the three people's reports. Zefa and Lorei both nodded silently. There are not many soldiers, but fine. The next moment, Zefa took a deep breath, put down his teacup, and gestured to Ein. "The members of our pirate guerrilla group are controlled at about 300. Yes. Iron nodded solemnly. Questions about the intelligence network. Zefa turned his gaze and looked at Binz again, saying, "The intelligence of the Navy is not free for us to use, so we should try to establish our own intelligence network. When it comes to this, Zefa has some headaches. For more than 2 months, he ran around for the formation of the pirate guerrilla group and broke his heart. I thought it would be very easy, but when it was really formed, it was found that it was really not easy. And the problem of intelligence was a hurdle. At the very least, it can't be solved in a short time. After all, to build an intelligence network, not only do you need a huge amount of resources, but you also need time to accumulate. The pirate guerrilla team has just been formed, the foundation is too poor, and intelligence is the weak underbelly. Intelligence problem, let Peach Rabbit take charge." Yet, it was at this time that Luo Lei, who had not spoken all along, raised an eyebrow, looked at the Peach Rabbit, and said, "Since you joined the pirate guerrilla group, you must reflect your own value. In terms of intelligence, you have no problem, right?" Listen to this sentence. Peach Rabbit, who was still concentrating on the meeting, looked at Luo Lei with sharp eyes. "Don't look at me." The corners of Luo Lei's mouth cocked slightly, and he said softly, "I remember that you were in the Navy headquarters, and it seems that you are specifically in charge of naval intelligence work, right?" "You're right." Peach Rabbit's look remained unchanged, and he said softly, "Unfortunately, I have now joined the pirate guerrillas and the intelligence post has been removed." "Oh, since it's useless, let's roll it ourselves." Luo Lei shrugged his shoulders indifferently, did not give Peach Rabbit any face, and said, "The pirate guerrillas do not raise waste, even intelligence is not certain, and it is useless to keep it. Lore, don't deceive people too much." Bang! Peach Rabbit narrowed her eyes, clenched her silver teeth, patted the table, and scolded, "I am a Lieutenant General and Substitute General of the Navy headquarters, and you are not qualified to let me roll." Saying that, Peach Rabbit looked at Zefa for help. "Teacher Zefa, you have a word." Ha ha ha. In the face of Peach Rabbit's gaze, Zefa could only laugh a few times, and said with some embarrassment, "Peach Rabbit, you also know that the teacher is old, and the future is still Luo Lei's master, so, words are not said too clearly, but..." Of course, they know Zefa's implication, that is, the future pirate guerrillas are Luo Lei's, and everyone must listen to Luo Lei's. Alright. In fact, Zefa did not want to understand. Why did Lori deliberately make it difficult for the little Peach Rabbit? Although the purpose of Peach Rabbit's joining the pirate guerrillas is unknown, but with the status of the Peach Rabbit in the Navy, the weight of the pirate guerrillas can be strengthened from the side. More importantly, the Peach Rabbit is beautiful. Although some of the older ones, but the female junior holds the golden brick, the female senior 30 sends the country, with Luo Lei is more than enough, plus Ein, his own nephew, waiting to enjoy the blessings of the Chi people. Yuck, how do I think crooked? Good. Very good. In the face of Zefa who could not enter the oil and salt, Peach Rabbit gritted his teeth, looked at Luo Lei, and said fiercely, "You can rest assured, the problem of the intelligence network, I will take care of it." "Good." Luo Lei nodded happily and said, "Peach Rabbit, for your sake so obediently, it is time to take medicine." The voice has not fallen. With a cracking sound, a bottle was thrown out very casually by Luo Lei. "Lore, don't deceive people too much." In the next instant, Peach Rabbit held the bottle, his face changed suddenly, and he was really blown up by the gas. In particular, she didn't say anything. Why did this Luo Lei target her? And said that she should take medicine. It was simply unreasonable. "She is not sick, take a hammer medicine." Episode 29. She is not sick, take a hammer medicine. Yet, listen to Lore's tone. It seems she can't eat it yet. For a moment, Peach Rabbit's look was fickle, looking at Luo Lei's gaze, as if he wanted to kill someone. As for Zefa, Ian, Bins, he frowned slightly, obviously not knowing what medicine was sold in Lore's gourd. After all, although Peach Rabbit joined the pirate guerrillas, but the good villain is also a lieutenant general and substitute general of the Navy headquarters, and if he does not look at the monk's face to see the Buddha's face, he still has to give some face. "Peach Rabbit, if you don't eat it, you can quit the pirate guerrillas." At this time, Luo Lei did not care so much, took the teacup, drank a sip of hot tea, and then said crisply and neatly, "My patience is limited, I only count to 3. Otherwise the consequences will be at my own risk." "Lore, you're really good." Listening to this sentence, Peach Rabbit's delicate body was trembling, and when he was about to say something, he heard the number that Luo Lei shouted. 3. So, under the sending of the devil to God. Somehow, Peach Rabbit picked up the bottle, unscrewed the cap, and drank it down. Hiccup. After drinking the water in the bottle, the Peach Rabbit couldn't help but burp, and the whole person stood in place like a wooden chicken. This Luo Lei directly shouted out the number 3, and 1 and 2 did not shout. "It tastes good?" The next moment, the Peach Rabbit seemed to sense something, couldn't help but lick his lips, and clearly felt that there was still a wisp of sweet taste, filling between the teeth of the lips. Airplanes. Yet, it was at this time that a warm current suddenly spread from the Peach Rabbit's body to the 8 veins of the Qijing. Not bad. Poisonous. Peach Rabbit's face became extremely pale, and when he wanted to angrily rebuke Luo Lei, he stood straight in place, and his cheeks filled with an unbelievable look, just like seeing a ghost. That's right. Just in that moment, that warm current began to stimulate the cells in her whole body, making her feel a sense of metamorphosis. What's going on? Look at the fickle-looking Peach Rabbit. Zefa, Ein, Bins, and Emperor Tong all had some doubts in their eyes. How come this Peach Rabbit didn't speak all of a sudden? Could it be that the water in that bottle is really poisonous? What's wrong? With Luo Lei's personality, he will not be cruel to the Peach Rabbit. Airplanes. Just when Zefa, Ein, Bins, and Emperor Tong were still in doubt, without any warning, a mighty and irresistible terror suddenly erupted from the body of the Peach Rabbit and crushed it in all directions. No doubt, this is the Peach Rabbit's overlord color domineering. Rumble. Perhaps under the stimulation of the super god water, the Peach Rabbit's overlord color domineering spirit had just awakened, and in the instant of the outbreak, it suddenly stopped. Whereas Rao is so. Countless navies throughout the naval headquarters also felt a buzz in their heads. Overlord color domineering? What joke? Peach Rabbit actually woke up to the domineering color. How is this possible? Is that bottle filled with a miracle drug? Inside the meeting room, perceiving the domineering color of the Peach Rabbit, Zefa, Ian, Bins, and Tong Di suddenly stood up from their chairs and looked at the Peach Rabbit's gaze, just like looking at some precious animal. Nimas. After Peach Rabbit became Admiral Sengoku, Vice Admiral of the Admiral Headquarters, Lore, the third awakening of the domineering navy. Wait a minute, Peach Rabbit only awakened the domineering spirit of the Overlord after taking the medicine, so doesn't that mean? Isn't that not poison, but a miracle drug? The next instant, Zefa, Ein, Bins, and Emperor Tong looked at Luo Lei, who had always been in a light state of cloud and light, though there was no talking, but the simple meaning is that they also want to take medicine. Just kidding. If taking medicine can become stronger, then they can take medicine every day and take Lore's bankruptcy. Take it, 1 bottle for 1 person. Sensing the gaze of the 4 people, Luo Lei smiled and shook his head, and casually threw out 4 bottles of super divine water. Originally, he gave the Peach Rabbit medicine. I just want to see how effective the super divine water is without side effects. Now that I have seen it, it is still okay. And I actually let the Peach Rabbit awaken the domineering spirit of the Overlord. Gollum. Soon, after receiving the bottle containing the super divine water, Zefa, Ein, Bins, and Tong Di unscrewed the cap in no particular order, and poured a stream of brain into the stomach. Sure enough, in less than 3 seconds, rumble, a mighty momentum that was stronger than the Peach Rabbit's Overlord color domineering spirit swept out from Zefa's body with a speed that could not cover his ears. And that's just the beginning. Airplanes. Another Overlord color domineering spirit swept out from Emperor Tong's body, so the 2 terrifying Overlord color domineering spirits were in no particular order, and they pushed towards the naval headquarters like a sea of mountains. This time, the navies of the Navy headquarters are a little confused. First there was a domineering spirit, and now there are two more powerful domineering spirits. What is this Naima doing? Are you kidding? This is the naval headquarters, not a pirate den? Pity. Think so. Face Zefa and Tongdi overlord color domineering. Many of the weaker Navy soldiers only felt their heads buzzing and completely blank. Poof. Poof. Immediately afterward, some of the naval soldiers' bodies trembled and began to fall in pieces, and even some of the more powerful naval soldiers stood in place with a shocked face. Episode 30. Overlord Color Domineering. 3 strands of domineering spirit appeared in succession at the naval headquarters, so that those Navy headquarters soldiers who did not fall to the ground, there is some collapse in their hearts. Naimas, if it is in the New World, it is not surprising to feel the domineering spirit of the Overlord, but is this the naval headquarters? It's so weird. At the same time, the highest level of the headquarters fortress, the offices of the various naval high-level officials also exploded in an instant. Everyone has cultivated the domineering spirit of seeing and hearing, so they can perceive it very clearly. The first Overlord Color Domineering Chi was erupted by Vice Admiral Peach Rabbit of the Navy headquarters. The second Overlord Color Domineering Chi was erupted by the former Admiral of the Navy headquarters, Zefa. And the third Overlord Color Domineering Chi was the outbreak of the Tong Emperor. There's something unbelievable about this Naima. When Peach Rabbit, Zefa, and Tongdi have all awakened to the domineering color of the Overlord, this Overlord Color Domineering is also too worthless. No, I have to go and see. In the Marshal's office, after sensing the domineering color of Peach Rabbit, Zefa, and Tongdi, the warring states looked uncertain, and finally their eyes must have been fixed, and they slowly got up and walked towards the conference room. As for Carp in the office, he opened his mouth and forgot to eat the donuts, and even the Crane staff officer, who had always been the most calm, seemed unable to maintain his composure at this time. Multiply. In the office of one of the 3 major generals, Red Inu, the red dog sat there with a cold face, perhaps with some horror, and without a sound, a drop of magma dripped from his right hand, constantly burning the floor. How can that be? The office of another general. The pheasant was originally drinking tea, but after sensing the domineering spirit of the Overlord, the tea instantly condensed into ice and emitted a burst of cold. And in the office of the yellow ape, who was originally on a lunch break, suddenly opened his eyes, looking a little confused, puzzled, shocked, and obviously some gaffes. This Naima's Overlord Color Domineering is not money, and then engage in wholesale? Inside the meeting room, perceiving the domineering aura of Zefa and Tongdi, Lori rubbed his head with some headache, and now that it was all right, the whole naval headquarters was alarmed. However, Emperor Tong's ability to awaken the domineering spirit of the Overlord color still made Luo Lei a little surprised. After all, if he was not mistaken, Emperor Tong seemed to have learned to see and smell the domineering spirit and the armed color domineering under the guidance of teacher Zefa. Now, under the stimulation of the super god water, even the Overlord color domineering spirit has been activated. What a worthy child emperor. As for why Ein and Bins didn't awaken to the Overlord domineering, it should be that the strength of the two is not enough, but after drinking the super god water, the two are definitely benefiting a lot, and the strength is at least soaring. At this time, the most embarrassed and guilty is the Peach Rabbit. She actually suspected that Luo Lei poisoned her, and regarded Luo Lei's kindness as a donkey's liver and lungs. Too bad. So, she couldn't live up to Lore's kindness to her. After all, after drinking a magic pill, she not only awakened the domineering spirit of the Overlord, but also soared with her combat effectiveness, which can be described as achieving a transformation. Thinking of this, Peach Rabbit couldn't help but shake her fist. She could only apologize to the Sengoku Marshal and Staff Officer Crane. She wanted to dig the corner of the Navy. Anyway, the Navy is a big business, and there is nothing wrong with digging some corners. Okay, you two can stop. At this time, Luo Lei looked at Zefa and Tongdi, still immersed in the transformation of his body, and couldn't help but open his mouth to remind him. Phew, the voice has not fallen. Zefa opened his eyes first, sensing his vibrant body, and couldn't help but show excitement. Nimas, what kind of water is this? It was actually possible to make his body achieve such a transformation. You know, he is already old, even if his right arm is transplanted with Miyu's arm, his old body is also somewhat inadequate. Now to good, drink this amazing water. His cells seem to be much younger. Master, this water is a bit of a good idea. Emperor Tong's eyes flashed a ray of essence, and he said, my physical strength has increased again, my strength has also increased, and my brain has become more intelligent. When he said this, Emperor Tong turned sharply and said, Master, not yet, I still want to take medicine? No more. Hearing these words, Luo Lei glanced at Emperor Tong and said, this super divine water is only effective the first time, and the second time has no effect. Oh. Emperor Tong picked up the lollipop in a daze, muttered his mouth, and ate it himself. Here they come. Suddenly, Luo Lei seemed to sense something, and said something meaningfully. Bang, the voice has not fallen. The door to the conference room was pushed open. Immediately afterward, the middle and high-ranking members of the Navy, such as Sengoku, Kapu, Crane Staff Officer, Green Pheasant, Red Dog, Yellow Ape, and T-Dolphin, all pushed the door in. Little Peach Rabbit, how did you awaken the overlord color domineering? After coming in, before the others could speak, Kapu glanced around, looked at the Peach Rabbit with a smile, and sighed, it's incredible, you, Zefa, and Tong Di have awakened the domineering spirit of the overlord. I took the medicine that Lori gave me. Peach Rabbit hesitated for a moment before pointing to the bottle on the table. What? Kapu glanced at the bottle on the table, and after glancing at the bottle that Zefa and Tong Di had left on the ground, his eyes moved. He looked at Luo Lei, and said solemnly, I, Kapu, want to take medicine.